I'd like to open the Architectural Board of Review agenda for September 21st, 2009. Starting with general business, item A, public comment. Seeing no one in the audience to address the board, I'd close that portion, bring it back to approval of the minutes of September 8th, 2009. Can I have a motion for that, please?
So moved.
Second by Clay, first by Dawn. Okay, starting with item 1. Anything before item 1, actually? Item 1.
Yes, Mr. Chair, on item 1,
yes,
under landscaping, item number 2, provide a more earth tone color or texture for the concrete, and I think we should remove curve of the,
yes,
and just so it says concrete planter.
Okay, good. Okay, item 2. Item 3. Item 4. Oh. Okay, that closes that. All those in favor of the minutes as revised or reviewed, say aye. Aye.
Abstain from item 2.
One
required.
One abstention. Motion passes. We have consent agenda. We have a motion for consent. By Clay first, second by? Second by Chris. Okay. Consent item.
Mr. Chair,
Yep.
there were no items for the consent calendar of September 14th.
Okay.
Therefore, we're going to jump to today's consent calendar.
Yes.
The first item, item A, 560 Arroyo Avenue, was final approval as submitted. Item B, 630 Bath Street, was final approval of landscaping and a continuation for the trash enclosure item, part of that component of that review after final. Item C, 3427 Sea Ledge Lane, continued 1 week to consider other roof material alternatives. And then D, 710 Olive Street, approved with conditions. Item E, 1934 Elise Way, approved with conditions. Item F, 202 East Haley Street, was continued 1 week with comments. Item G was final approval as submitted for the tree removals and the replacement of the 9 eucalyptus trees. Items B, C, D, and E were reviewed by Clay Orrell, and items A, B, F, and G were reviewed by Carol Gross.
Thank you. All those in favor of consent as reviewed, say aye. Aye. Motion carries. No. Okay, so that brings us to item D, announcements, requests by applicants, continuances, withdrawals. Anyone?
We're not aware of any requests today.
Okay. Subcommittee reports? None. And that closes general business. And we are here for item number 1, 5 South Nopal Street. And we'll take a 5-minute adjournment until our applicant arrives. Thank you.
13 minute adjournment.
I'd like to reopen the ABR for September 21st, starting with item number 1, 5 South Nopal Street. I will read the minutes for you. This was continued indefinitely to the consent calendar, but the reason it has to come to the full board is only because there are development plan approval findings, which has to be done before the full board. It's fairly boilerplate. But the minutes read, architecture, the board finds the metal building acceptable, provide a more industrial-looking entry door. The body color of the building and trim shall be colony green, and the roof shall be misty gray. Show the rain gutters on the plans and provide downspouts to provide appropriate drainage and redirect water runoff. In the landscaping, study adding landscape wherever possible. Substitute the 3 ironwood trees for 2 large-scale canopy trees. Provide vines on the existing chain link fence near the new parking area. Provide a minimum 12-inch planter at the tire stop of the new car spots. Substitute California poppy plantings for perennial plantings. Okay.
All right.
If you can state your name for the
Michelle Malin,
There we go.
consultant.
There you
Sorry
go.
about that. Michelle Malin, consultant for Martino and Guyana. Primarily, well, we had an archaeology report that had to be reviewed, and it's been accepted, so that's what we've been continued on.
Okay.
I also brought, there's pictures on each set of plans, but I did go further across 101 just to give you a photograph from across the way, and also from an interior lot.
Okay. It's always helpful. I think the board was pretty comfortable with the size, bulk, and scale already. So,
Okay. Well, part of what we were wanting to ask is, if possible, now I know it's a steel building and that's not your favorite thing. And what we wanted to do was the colony green on the body with some accent trims of the darker green with the doors of the cinnamon, and then you guys wanted to do it to the roof to the misty gray and everything, the colony green, and we just thought it was just a little boxy that way. And I know it's a steel building, but if we just had a little bit of detail, a little bit of contrast in the doors, I think it'd make it a little bit more interesting. So that's what we wanted to ask you to reconsider that, if possible.
okay. So what we had said was the building and the trim should be colony green, which is the lighter green here, and the roof shall be misty gray.
Correct.
And what you would like us to reconsider is the roof and body color in colony green, and the trim, which would be at the corners of the buildings and around the doors, would be a darker green color. And the doors itself, all three doors, the two garage doors and the man door, would be this brown,
The cinnamon
brown
Right.
color.
Also, there was a suggestion by one board member to possibly make the roofs for brown, which we would accept that also. We just thought, instead of making it just one big green box, we'd like to just have make it a little, so it's a steel building, but let's make it a little more interesting. And also, part of with the photo here, the site is back in here, so if there was any perspective whatsoever of it as you're going southbound, if it were green or if it were brown, I think it'd blend in more with the landscape and all the vegetation that's there rather than the gray. So that's what we just wanted to ask you to reconsider that.
Okay. Let's. I think what we'll do is let's go through your drawings as you take off these items here, and then we'll deal with the color last,
Okay.
and we'll solve that color last. Okay, and then the board can in the meantime be thinking about what color-wise what they'd be comfortable with.
Okay.
So go ahead. So let's take number 2. Provide a more industrial-looking entry door.
We just went with a flat door with a single light.
It's this one here.
Correct.
Okay, and is that metal or what's that?
It would be just a steel door.
Steel door.
Yes.
Okay. We'll come back to number 3. Show the rain gutters on the plans. We have our rain gutters.
The rain cutters, and they're on the site plan with the downspouts, French drain, connected and dispersing into the planters.
Let's just see how you carried it off from the rear. So you're taking this water all the way around here.
Correct.
Is that it?
Correct.
And so while you have a gable here, that water will come horizontally across. So you'll have let's see so where does the
It's going to come
gutter?
across the front, and it'll disperse to each front end, each front side into the planters.
So how
This
do
is-
you take the water on the eastern side of here? How do you take this
Gable's
out to
right
here?
So the gutters be running here, and we're going to take it into a French drain
At this edge here?
at this
Oh,
edge
okay,
here,
right.
and slope it so it can connect with this one here, and then go ahead and disperse. 'Cause
Okay.
It's draining away from the site.
Yeah.
from this
Is this French drain on your property or?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Landscaping. Study adding landscape wherever possible. Number 2. Substitute the 3 ironwood trees for 2 large-scale canopy trees.
On the original plan, this area in here was not landscaped, so we went ahead and extended it and notched this in, so we created a larger area here. This is that existing power pole also, and these are existing palm trees. And then he did substitute, put the 2 trees in here. The rest of this is existing vegetation that's very dense, very thick. There's
Yes.
actually 2 corridors of vegetation.
So these are the 2 canopy trees here?
Those are the 2 canopy trees there. And then there's actually an existing grapevine there also, but he did go ahead and follow the recommendations of the board and substitute the other plants.
Okay. And we have vines on the existing chain link fence there, and that's what you were just talking about?
Yeah, there's
right here?
actually a grapevine existing in here. And he's adding, I believe, something right into here, some other, I think some lavender there.
One of these here is the creeping thyme. Isn't that a low
It's a-
beech aster?
I'm not sure.
These are ground covers. The vines is gold flame honeysuckle.
Okay.
That's your espalier vines on chain link fence. Okay, gold flame honeysuckle. Provide a minimum 12-inch planter at the tire stop for the new car spots. Okay. Substitute California poppy plantings for perennial plantings. You've done that?
Yes.
So you're using these here then as your
Yes.
ground cover perennial, creeping thyme. Okay. Okay. So let's go back to the elevations then, just so that we can keep that in mind with our color. Let's do that there. And then, anyone from the audience? No one in the audience. So I'll start with questions from the board. And start with Keith. No questions. Gary? Dawn?
Just one. I just noticed that you still have Misty Gray on the plans.
Well, in the event that you won't let us change it,
Okay.
we have
That's
it there
fine.
so we can mark out what you don't let us have or circle what you...
So you only have
Let
to change
us.
one or the other, the finish schedule or the plans. Okay.
Well, actually, I could peel it off.
Okay.
Okay. All Clay? Carol? Chris?
Quick question concerning the driveway material. I was just wondering if you had considered an alternative to DG, or you're proposing DG, I'm assuming. Had you thought about using other material, or was it a cost issue that...
I thought maybe it was for a permeation for the water to go into the soil instead of just having it be runoff. He was thinking pavement would be the best because he could come off a paved street, paved, and go into his concrete structure. It was, I think it was one of the recommendations that we keep this, maybe
as
something-
permeable as possible?
Yeah, as permeable.
We do have the parking areas in asphalt.
In asphalt?
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Hey, Chris, start off with comments.
What do you know?
Surprise you on that side.
I guess I have a little concern about that as DG, especially in the rainy season. DG is not typically driveway material. So I worry that during a rain, it's going to turn into a mud pit, especially if there's a lot of turning around. So I guess I would prefer to see something like gravel or even permeable pavers in that area. So that is going to be my suggestion for that area. I think it's going to, cause some problems as DG. And the only other comment I had was one specific plant, and that was the mimulus that's called out. Is kind of a seasonal plant. It's not really going to look good, year round. So I would suggest a substitution for that.
Okay.
And those are my comments. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. Carol?
Paving material and that little plant. And so I disagree with that. And my vote on the colors is I agree with you that a little bit more contrast would probably be more interesting. I think the brown roof would actually blend better as seen from the freeway. So that would be my choice of the colors.
We're fine with that.
And I also appreciate that you're putting so much attention into this type of project. And I think the colors are going to be fine.
Thank you.
And just to piggyback that, as far as the colors go, I agree with Carol as well. I think the brown would work out just fine for the roof.
Okay. Coming back to Clay.
Mr. Chair, I'll do a third on what these two to my right have said thus far, and on the colors, I'll just go with what the board says.
Okay, Paul. You pass. Don. And Gary.
I think it looks great. The brown's fine for the roof. The only thing I see that should probably happen is the downspout at the rear of the building should probably be on the opposite side of the building. One side you have 6 inches to the property line, and it's really not feasible to put a line in that 6-inch space.
The uphill side, there was
And
like
the
2
other
feet.
side has 18 inches, so put the downspout on the other side. That's it.
Okay. Keith.
Sure. The only comment is that I think the brown's acceptable for the roof if the applicant so chooses.
Okay. And with our comments on color, could I just get everybody's feeling about the trim color? Did you feel like the trim color is what you would like to do too, or you?
I think proposed dark blue.
As trim? And these are the corners of the buildings and around the doors, or just around the doors?
Oh, actually, it's the corners and around the doors, and it's a fairly minimal piece. It's not a wide piece. What is it? 2.5?
2
About
inches.
2 inches. So it's just a small accent.
Okay, so, and that would be it there. Okay, so I think, I mean, for me, I think the colors are acceptable. I probably would have had a different mix again, but I think that what majority of the board is saying is comfortable with me. So I think if we just address the downspout that Gary, and if you are amenable to the pavers, the permeable pavers,
It's not that much of a distance.
then what I'd like to do is just have a motion that approves the project and just writes those things into the approval then. So if I can have a motion for that, that would be good. Welcome a motion. Anyone? So this would be...
I'll make a motion for
is it the...
final approval.
Preliminary and final approval.
Can I
Yeah.
give it final approval if I want to?
Yeah.
Preliminary and final approval with the comment that the
DG paving to be changed.
DG paving to be replaced with a permeable
Permeable pavers.
paver, and the downspout, as shown on the south elevation, be relocated to the east elevation.
Okay, and that what was the landscaping? That was it, the pavers.
To change a perennial, one plant that is a perennial.
As far as the plant, the mimulus, we are going to suggest an alternative plant for that.
Oh, suggest an alternative for the mimulus.
I guess I would leave it up to the landscape architect, but if you want, we could throw something out
Go
there.
ahead and throw something out there. Let's just get it taken care of.
Carol?
Just a minute ago, we made a joke about it.
Not agapanthus, so I can't say agapanthus. All right, so that's in front of the tire stops.
Yeah, if you turn the next page, it's his landscaping plan.
Is that the only location?
And also, just so a note for you, that it's an awful lot of shade, not direct sun in that area.
The Byra, the compact variety, that takes the shade, doesn't require a lot of water, it looks good all year round. And if that's acceptable, that would be an improvement.
Yes.
Okay,
Just be sure it's the
So-
compact variety.
compact.
It's called Wheeler's Dwarf.
Okay, Wheeler's what?
Dwarf.
Can you, Carol, would you mind repeating that for Kathy?
I could write it on my sheet for you. Okay.
That's fine.
Okay, so we have the 3 items. We have a first here. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Gary. Under discussion, Dawn, I'd just like to read in, and the
With development approval findings.
with development approval findings, as stated in the memorandum
From September 21st.
It was 2009.
Mr. Chair, just one additional item. We did get a letter from Palo Westbury opposed to the project.
Thanks very much, Jaime. Great. And just under discussion, before we sign off, does the board want to give any stipulation about the color of the pavers? You leave it up to the owners? Color of the pavers. Okay.
Earth tone.
Earth tone. Not too wild, that's
That
all.
sounds
Okay,
sounds
all
logical.
great. All those in favor of the motion as said, say aye. Aye. Against? Motion carries. Thank you very much.
I guess I can peel off that misty gray now.
You can kill the Mr. Gray, yes.
Yes, if you, yeah. Also, yeah, if you could do.
So we'll adjourn for a couple of minutes again until our second item. Applicant to second item. Thank you. Uh, 130 South Aliso Street, and this is a concept review, continued item, second concept review. Am I right that the last minutes had all of these minutes here? Because there's so much. This goes all the way back to February of 2009.
That's when we were here last.
Okay. So I'll read the minutes here. Continued indefinitely to full board with comments, architecture. Return with a larger vicinity map, including northward-oriented documentation, like the vicinity map. Provide a cohesive streetscape of the neighborhood, including surrounding views to adjacent properties. The board finds the project to be overall acceptable. The applicant is encouraged to further study the following design elements. Provide a more cohesive combination of materials and design elements, including but not limited to door and window styles, roof pitches and roof detailing, such as corbels, clips, etc., and exterior detailing, including siding, vertical board and bat, etc. Study the cupolas above the garage for scale and proportion. Provide a more street-friendly elevation for Building 1. Landscaping. Provide landscaping and design to turn the corner between Aliso Street and Cacique Street. Study the Cacique Street elevation of the garages for compatibility with the main thoroughfare. The board understands that the landscape architect was not present at this review to present the landscaping, which shall be reviewed at a later time. Okay. You state your name for the record. Turn on your mic. Press the middle. Okay, I think you're on.
Okay. I'm Eric Swinemson, designer for the project.
And Chuck McClure, landscape architect.
Great.
So we've revised the plan a bit in order to take into consideration a lot of these comments. The first one, I guess, is the orientation of the vicinity map. Last time the vicinity map was very small, and it was oriented opposite of the site plan.
Okay.
The site plan is oriented as if you're standing on Aliso Street looking towards the freeway to the south or southwest.
Right.
Right.
This is Aliso's hill.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
Cacique is just that tiny little end that goes down, just little bit here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. And I guess we could go in order.
You have a streetscape,
Yeah,
photographs.
Last time it was submitted with just a bunch of random photos, so I put together. I actually have another copy of this with me that's in color if you're interested to see it that way. This
Okay,
is
if
the
you
way
have a
it's
color
supposed
copy, it might help. Might just brighten things up here. Great.
And I'm not sure if you have any real questions about where this is or what.
So
what's
this is
going on,
this is
but-
from Cacique Street. Yeah, this is on the Cacique, so this is just a little end here,
Right.
and that's the site for Elisos, from there to there, right?
Right.
And what are we looking at here?
That's looking up the driveway.
That's right between this driveway, right in here.
Right between.
Yeah,
the
between
re-
this
existing
porch
residence.
here and
Right.
that raised.
Yeah, this
okay.
is the existing garage carport and the existing
Right.
apartment.
That's
Which
going
is
further
the
down the driveway, looking to the right.
And this is across the street,
Okay,
looking at.
on Elisos,
Right.
immediately across.
I think,
So this is immediately across then,
yes.
and then this is to the left, going north, and that's Cacique.
Correct.
Okay,
Okay.
all right. Let's put that aside then. Everybody okay with the pictures, streetscape? Thanks.
Is this set the same?
They should be.
All right.
There might be a few minor window differences.
We only have a set.
You want to borrow it down there? Okay, you want to continue, Eric? Okay. So,
Just describing the open yard areas.
okay.
Previously, we were going to, this is the existing apartment building, we were going to do additions on the front of it and then kick out these balconies in this area, but we've decided to not do the additions and just upgrade the facade and do the balconies. Previously, we had two roof pitches to deal with. The roof pitch existing on this is kind of low, and we increased the pitch on this, and it didn't look good. There was too much mass. So now we have the same roof pitch all the way across. This is kind of a poor copy.
Is that edge there? Is that edge in the back?
Yes,
And then this one here is this one in front,
right,
and then this little thing here is this right here.
correct.
Okay.
And this is the new portion attached to the.
So really,
existing.
this goes here, and that should be shortened back there somehow. Because if this comes down here, well, they should be almost the same length, but one's way back, right? Because you'll see this edge. You'll see this edge here in
This
front
is
of it,
dropped.
bring
That's
down that
dropped
little
there.
ridge.
and then that's dropped down here like that, right?
Yes.
Well, this is actually just about a 12-inch pop out there. So I think this piece will be way over here.
Oh, okay.
You see,
That's 12 inches out.
yeah.
Okay, so what's this hard line that we're seeing here? What's this?
That's this piece. For the way this came about is previously we had outside stairs going up to an entrance, and that was unacceptable to the board. So we enclosed the stairs and made the front door here, and that's what that piece is that you see. It comes out further than this level.
Oops.
Yeah. Scribbled all over my drawing.
Sorry.
So that's a door. That's where? Oh, and they're on the lower level.
Took it up to the upper level.
And there's an overhang that
Well-
I'm not seeing here.
Because it looks like this thing goes all the way through, so shouldn't this balcony go all the way through? Like there, look,
The other plan.
look at
has
it here.
Correct.
That goes all the way through, right? So this
Yes.
balcony should go all the way through.
Right.
So this goes here, and there's a set of pickets here, and it goes out there like that.
And there's a window here.
There is not any longer.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's see what's going on.
Well, can
Okay, we have. So you'll have to fill out a pink slip when you're finished. But
Okay.
so
Honey,
Jaime,
we-
we're gonna
We need
review
another
these
set
drawings.
I gave it. I found it. But
No, the drawings that he submitted are not the most recent, and he wants to substitute.
Okay, what's different? Have you figured out what's different?
Yeah.
There's some things
This
we're
is
figuring out there.
clarified, and there's two windows or two doors on the back.
That it's not site plan specific? Because that's what we
No.
checked to. We route plans to
Site
have-
plan's the same.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay. All right. So let's. So this will now go in the file.
Okay.
Okay. There's no A3.
Go from A to A5.
Is that the one with the color?
You have two A5s.
Oh, that's-
Clay and Carol, they have the only correct copy
oh,
then.
wait. Okay.
Oh, okay.
So we have no A3. You have two A5s. That one looks like it has two A5s.
Yeah, it's supposed to be 4 and 5.
Oh, this is supposed to be 4.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so that's back. Oh, it's better drawing to look at.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that, I don't know who printed the other one.
Okay, so let's go ahead here. So you were asked to kind of, let's see, you were asked to provide a more cohesive combination of materials and design elements.
On the previous plan, and you'd have to look at it to see the differences, but it was, I admit, poorly drawn, and there were different windows in the same building, and 3 different siding materials, horizontal, vertical, and stucco. And, so we've just cleaned it up. The windows now are more consistent. We have horizontal siding matching the existing. This is all stucco currently, and we're going to match it for the new. And that's a side that you can't see because of the foliage and such.
So this is facing north.
That's
Is that it?
facing west towards. You want me to orient you on the site plan?
Yeah. How is it facing west?
That's this elevation, looking this way.
Yeah, the ocean is here, right?
The ocean is this way.
Okay.
Well,
Freeway.
it's around. but
Okay,
this
so
is
all
the
right.
freeway. This is the Milpas off ramp. Okay.
Okay. Well, all right. I would have more think that this would be north, like north-south. These lines towards the city, and then this would be east-west in the city. We generally accepted that we go that way,
Well,
but
yeah, and I pulled the site plan from the surveyor, and he oriented it this way, and I didn't.
yeah, this is fine. This is fine. It's just that when you're calling that west, it's kind of weird because it's facing the Mission, for instance, and it's. But okay, we got it. So this is the one facing that property is going that side. Okay, and so the front, what you've got is siding in the front, stucco down that side. Siding here, and these are existing structures, right? You're just doing remodeling to the front of it.
Yes, this is existing. There's a carport here that we're going to demo entirely to build this.
To build this. Oh, I see.
It's a detached carport. It's small, ugly.
So just one side is stucco and 3 sides have siding. Okay. Anything else? Let's see. You have standardization of the windows. These are all double hung. They look like.
There's many double hung. Yeah, I think that's the plan. There may be a few sliders or casement at the kitchens.
But these would be the breakups.
Yes.
You would stay with these breakups, whether they're double hung or.
Right. And previously there were some strange
small
hips on
clips.
the ends on one side and not the other, and we took all of those off. And some corbels.
What about the cupolas above the garages?
Yeah. Now, one of the comments was that, if I recall correctly, that one would be preferable over two. So I have one, and it's, again, you'd have to see the other one. It was taller and narrower. So I've increased the size based on the comments. So the proportion is...
And this is an all-new building?
Yes. This is the one on Cacique Street.
So, okay, so this is going to be board and batt vertical siding, and the house is all horizontal siding.
Right. It's a different building.
Provide a more street-friendly elevation for building 1.
That involved the outside stairs on
Now look,
this one.
so this is facing.
This is the street.
This is facing the street here.
Right. Previously, we had outside stairs going up to a small porch and door, and nobody seemed to like that very much.
Okay.
There are a lot of trees, like we see. I don't know if you've added some.
Yes. Turn to the landscape then. Provide landscaping design to turn the corner between
use this
Alisos and Cacique.
So here's preliminary landscape plan. There's 20 existing trees on this site, and they start here with 1, 2, and we work our way around. See, some of these are quite large and close to the sidewalk. So the ones with the X's are going to come out. This one, this little trio. And so anyway, some of them are moving, like here's a palm tree that's going to jump over to here, and here's a palm tree that's going to jump over to here. It's a real mix mash of different things. So what we want to do is pull the trees out where they're not appropriate. Like here's one that, in my kind of way of thinking, I would even actually like to pull that one, but I know that the city likes us to use trees where leave them alone if we can, so we're going to leave that one. But what we'd like to do is come in with a new, just a series of new trees. This is African tulip tree, is the street tree. So I chose a tree, a shoestring acacia, to run just inside the property line like that, which I think is kind of a nice combination with that. And we've got just some evergreen screen trees along this new. So dashed is existing and solid's new. And then we've got citrus up the off-ramp. And there's a few weeping trees here with a little sitting area. So we've got a little food production. And then we just re-looked at all the landscape compared to last time, and we've made it kind of more commercial or just tougher in general. And these kind of projects are not like fine residences with great maintenance. So I've gone through and kind of just kind of more like bulletproof things. So it's quite simple, quite durable. A little piece of lawn, and that's that. There's a heavy wood fence of 18 inches back off of the sidewalk. And it's a 6x6 and 3 4x. And the total height is only 42. The total height.
Yes.
So.
Okay. 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 Do you have a? Do you guys okay with the? Do you have any questions? I'm going to come back. Sorry. Okay, so anyone in the public would like to comment on this project? Seeing no one, I'll bring it back to staff. Or
Mr. Chair, we have another letter submitted by Paula Westbury against the project.
Thank you, Jaime. Bring it back to the board for questions. Keith? No question. Gary?
Yeah, I have one question. How are you planning on the building number 1, the stucco siding? How are you planning on wrapping that around with the wood siding? Were you just going to terminate?
Well,
at the corner?
there'll probably be a wood trim at the corner from the siding. I don't think you can see it. I've got a thin wood trim at all the corners, and it'll just die into that.
Okay.
That trim will wrap to the stucco.
Okay. Thanks. No more questions. Dawn?
I got just one, Eric, about back to this little detail. Shouldn't there be a wing wall drawn that goes all the way up and down here? Or no, I'm on the upper level. Should there be a wing wall right here that's not being shown?
According to this drawing, yes.
Yes. Yeah, there should be. This, I suppose.
From there to there, and then
that column.
and that's just going to die into and turn into the same plane as this lower level.
Yes.
And I guess I'm wondering why it needs to be there.
Well, I'm thinking just because of this overhang. There's two things, I think.
But the overhang's only there because of the wing wall.
Because if the door is here.
It's
The door is in this line right here, which is over here, right?
And it's just a one-story element. So the reason I'm asking is because it seems like, and correct me if I'm wrong, the overall scale massing of this east, what you're calling the north elevation could be reduced
If we remove the wing
just
wall.
because the mass is being exacerbated by the
Okay.
wing wall.
I like
that a
the
comment?
overhang because of
No, it's a question.
Oh, okay.
because of the protection on the balcony.
Sorry.
So we can leave the overhang but remove the wing wall. And sure, I think
No, I just was wondering if I was reading it correctly.
you are.
So,
Yeah. So we could-
Any other questions, Dawn?
No.
Paul?
Two questions. One of them, and Chuck, this is for you, on the site plan, if we can go back. There was a gravel walk that led to the front of the building, and I saw it on your plan. And was there a bench there, or is that meters?
bench.
Just for cutesy sake? Okay. The second question is, you have these, and this is
An Eric question?
in Eric, but I'll wait for you to write that down because I know how that goes. The garage doors are 18 feet wide,
Yes.
and the reason for them being 18 versus 16 is there
The transportation, I believe, made that request.
because of your back out distance?
Right.
Okay. Is there a way, do you have a little bit of room to
That's 27 feet, right?
Yes.
That's quite a bit. Seems like it's enough to get a 16.
they made two comments. One was 18-foot doors, and one was give us 27 feet because we didn't have that in the last submittal. So I gave them both. Are you thinking you'd rather see 16-foot doors? Because maybe they'll allow it. if it's-
There's ramifications to the 18, I think.
Well, what I'm just noticing is that it's a comment, I'm getting into a comment, but this is very tight and narrow. If there was a way of squeezing out something here to make this a little bit nicer around the corners for the trim, that's why I was questioning what the overall required width was for this garage. That was question number one. Question number two, or three, whatever, is the second floor cantilevers over the garage. How much and why is that? Of the new construction.
I think the cantilever's just a foot.
And why? Do you need that for some dimensional reasons?
No, I think I was just continuing this cantilever. This is a bigger cantilever. I think there were two reasons. One is that I ended up pushing these garages back, and rather than push them all the way back to that cantilever, I left them a little bit for a shadow line of it. Do you think it's better without the cantilever?
That's a comment. I was just looking at this elevation and looking at this kind of thing, and was wondering what was going on. Thank you.
Thanks, Paul. Clay?
Could I go back to that a little bit? You were hoping to widen this entry a little bit?
In my own mind, yes, but in order to do that, you have to sacrifice 6 inches from each of these bays or whatever. And I wanted to know if you were locked into 18 for a certain reason.
Well,
Your 20-foot.
Yeah, I can't, of course, reduce the 20-foot inside,
Okay.
but I could probably increase the size of this by a foot or so, if I can reduce the size of the door.
All right, we'll come back to that.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure. Clay? Carol?
Landscape plan, but I do have a question about your choice of the agonist for the area of these little small pockets right in front of the garages. My experience, that's a weeping plant, and they're constantly shedding throughout the year, and they really want to get wider than they are tall.
Okay, we'll change it.
Okay, thank you.
Chris?
Okay. I guess starting with this, the post and rail fence that is across the frontage on Alisos, is there a reason that wasn't wrapped around the corner and up Cacique?
No, we can do that.
Okay. It was just, to me, it was slightly awkward how it just terminated at the corner there. Another question: the fence detail itself. These, what do you call them here? Cedar post balls mounted at the top. Does that coordinate with something on the structure?
No, it just gives it a much more finished look than just a knockoff or a pyramid.
Okay. And I'll save the rest for comments.
Okay. I had some questions here. Is there what I was looking at is that trying to look at this minimal dimension that you have up here, did you look at any other types of detailing that you might be able to achieve a reduction in the mass up here in that area by being able to set back any portion of that higher ceiling area to be able to make this stand out a little bit more significantly? I mean, in our attempt here to try and get this facade to read a lot more neighborhood friendly.
Your understanding that I'm a little bit limited because of the setback and the width of the stairs and the width of the garages, so I can't move things too much. But were you thinking of just above the plate, setting that back?
No, I'm just trying. This pop out here is very minimal.
Yeah.
It's almost like it's a stuck-on kind of picture frame almost, and not more than that. And so I'm looking at a flat facade right now with siding, and our direction was to try and make that elevation a lot more neighborhood friendly. You know, when we look at the house that's adjacent to it with the big front porch and everything, I mean, there's an inviting neighborhood aspect to that. And then you're building a brand new structure, and on your brand new structure, you're just having a sliced elevation. So that's just why I'm going with that.
Well, would you be willing to relook at a exterior stair and a front door on that elevation again?
I think. I mean, we commented on the stay already, so it's you know what our comments on that. I'm just looking for ways to make it more than what it is.
Okay.
That's all I'm looking for. And then your decision to go from siding to stucco on this side. What drove that decision?
Well, this is already stucco. Well,
but isn't this new?
Yeah, the existing is stucco on the back already, and I was just continuing it.
And is this stucco here too?
No.
In the existing building?
No, it's siding.
Oh, so it's siding on two sides and stucco on the back of the existing building?
The siding on this side currently, the existing building.
I had one more question.
Okay.
Just came up.
Yeah.
When you're done.
I'm finished.
I'm just looking at this is new, right? I'm trying to figure out what happens. What's my experience as I walk into this door? I go up a stair and there's a full height wall, and then you go up to the stairs to a little landing with a window, and then there's a door into the kitchen, and you enter the unit in the kitchen, and there's a full height wall, so no east light can come into that kitchen. Okay. Just want to make sure I understood what was going on there.
Okay. All right. So that's it. Coming back for comments, Keith.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Looking at the building planning of Building 1, it seems like some of the comments regarding the kind of neighborhood face of Building 1 on the north could be possibly addressed with an entrance that faces that side. Maybe the entry door somehow could address the streets similar to how the existing house does. And I think from an internal planning standpoint, I think maybe where Don was headed, perhaps by having a living space at the top of the entry stair facing the street, you could also have a more kind of street-friendly presence on the street. Architecturally, I guess I don't understand the different expression on the garage building with the board and bat and the cupola and 45-degree corners and everything. It just seems like it's a completely different architecture. So it seems like it would be better to have a more, coherent style throughout. And then on building 1, the new porches to the new unit, this whole mass just seems really kind of linear and undifferentiated, and that perhaps there could be some roof cover elements over portions or a portion of this deck that would tie it in more architecturally to the rest of the mass. Right now it just kind of seems like it's sort of a separate element that's attached, not integrated. And that might also help to provide some variation in the horizontal lines that would kind of tie in with the rest of the building, and perhaps this idea of this front porch on the existing house. So anyway, those are my comments. Thanks.
Thanks, Keith. Gary?
My comments don't vary much from Keith's. Definitely want to see some type of entry to the front of the building that's access from the sidewalk from the front of the building with a separate walkway. I would like to see the wood element return around the corner. To have it stop right there, it doesn't seem correct to me, and it is a new structure, so the siding should carry through. Also, some of the detailing should also carry through. You've got brackets on the other building, and we've got these nice colonnades that are on the porch area here, and I would hope to see that some type of that element would be used in this new portion of the building as well. I would agree with the barn-looking garage that it should be a little more in character with the existing house that's next to it, with the existing building number 2. That's it for my comments.
Thanks, Gary. Dawn?
Yeah, that's where I was kind of going with my question too, to make sure I understood that interior space on that unit. I just think it's a missed opportunity, Eric, to the street and for light in that space. And it could be a really nice unit, but without that big wall going up. And once you enter it, you don't need another door on the upper level. If the door's down at the street, you don't need another door to make that hallway really claustrophobic. It just can open up to the upper level, and
A railing.
it could be a railing going up, and then you can just let some light come in. It's kind of east-facing light, and I think that some of the proportions, I think you're kind of getting there, and I appreciate the cohesiveness now. I think that I agree with Gary about turning the corner and having. I think that this side of the building doesn't look like it's part of the same building as this side of the building anymore. I think that there could be a little bit more done there. Some of these spans are really long between these posts, and then the way you've got a low wall and a pilaster, and then another low wall above it and another pilaster. There's something about that is, I don't know, maybe not quite right. Maybe it's because it's a 2-story and both stories are exactly the same. There's no hierarchy, or something to me is a little bit missing here. As well as with these little wing walls that are kind of everywhere, that are introducing an element that to me doesn't relate at all to the kind of craftsman cottage direction that you're taking. That's it for me.
Thanks. Paul?
I'll agree with the comments that were made about the front entry. Okay. And so that was that. One thing that in your next review, just verify that these dimensions are your minimums. I measured this was about 4 feet, and then a 20 feet and 20 feet, and whatever you have left, you can be nice to embellish this area and make it more enjoyable to go up and down every day. So a serious comment is to double check the 18 foot is required because it does look like you have an ample back out. And if 16 is appropriate, then you'll have more, it'll look nicer from the elevations. The last suggestion is to, in the rear elevation, people were saying to continue the wood over here, and I know you have plaster here, but this plane does not have to be the same. The facial line does not have to be the same. You can break this and have this building like 1 or 2 feet back from this building. And if you have 24 foot deep garage, so you have room of maybe pushing the garage back a foot and this back 2 feet, and that'll bring some relief along this elevation. It'll break your roof, and you're going to have 2 distinct buildings. I mean, they're touching each other, but the plaster can turn, and then you have your wood siding. So study how that'll affect, because it looks like you have ample room on the second floor to lose a little bit of square footage and not really have teeny rooms. And that's it. Thanks.
Well, Clay?
Mr. Chair, I don't need to repeat what else has been said because I agree with most of it. I think the roof plane needs to be looked at. It's just a long, kind of relentless ridge line, and kind of like Paul was saying about stepping the building back, I think you could look at doing that with the roof as well to try to break that mass down a bit. All the other comments I'm in agreement with.
Thanks, Carol. Okay, Chris?
Can we put these plans up there, Chuck?
Yeah.
Just do it in front of the camera here. Okay, a few comments. First of all, I think you've really addressed nicely, the impact from the street. I like how everything sort of wraps around. I would continue that fence and turn the corner there. I think that would be a good call. Moving towards the back area here, this trash enclosure, to me, I think could be screened, especially as these folks leave out of their front door. They're staring right at the end of that.
It's got a little return here. It's just,
right.
It does do that at least.
So maybe a shrub, or I know you have a little Parthenocissus planted there, maybe an additional one. I don't know if there's any way to scoot this over just a little bit so that you could, because as you drive in here, you do see those trash cans as well. So something to think about.
Okay, I'll look at that trash.
Okay, and then these citrus trees you have along the sound wall, eventually will get large, so you're planting 15 gallons. To me, it's going to take quite a long time, especially those folks here on the second floor are going to be looking right out to the freeway. So I would encourage the use of a larger tree or a larger box, if you want to keep the citrus there. But I saw sort of a larger canopy there to help screen and noise and dust and all that good stuff. Let's see, tree number 6 you wanted to keep, although it's right in the middle of this pathway.
Yeah. Well, if you guys are okay with taking it out every time, I'm kind of tend to be a clear cut guy. Let's put it back once, right, the way we want it for the next 30 or 50 years. But I keep getting a lot of feedback from the board, so I'm trying to work with these boards. But I'd love to cut that tree down.
Right. Well, I guess it'd be nice to keep the tree and maybe do something else with the walk. But I'm also seeing these new trees being so close to these walkways here. I mean, that's only 2 feet away, and this is sort of a broad canopy tree, so we'll have to either prune that up quite a bit just to walk under it, or, possibly eliminate that walkway. I'm not sure exactly what the purpose is. I know it's to stay within the property and be able to walk around, but to me that's conflicting there, and the same with that. So, maybe this tree does stay since it's historical, and maybe the pathway wraps around it, or, I'll let you work on that. But that is in the middle of the pathway, so I think something should be done there. That's pretty much it. I think the only other problem I had was this float rock is very just utilitarian, and I think it'd probably be fine in the backyards here for those folks, but a little higher quality material might be more beneficial in the front. That's it. Thanks.
Thanks. And my comments, I think we all got some good comments. I agree with the landscaping. I think I'll take this. I think building one really needs looking at in many ways. I think Paul alluded to the fact that we have this. He didn't allude. He said, we have an overhang here. This does not need to line up. When we're presenting our neighbors here with this this unrelenting length of wall, we really need to do. You need to do something to help them with that kind of view, and this is really something that can be made a lot better. I think that there's a few things that's pushing your program that's causing you to do this minimal stuck on here, and is just that when you talk about the distances here between here, what causes them to transportation to also want this extra depth is the fact that you have these wing walls in the first place, and if these wing walls didn't exist, you would be able to have that less, and you would be able to start turning much earlier. The fact that you have the wing walls is so that you can have so much mass on the top floor. And so it's this game that you're trying to max out what's happening on the top floor, and it's causing these repercussions on the bottom floor, and then it's causing the whole architecture to fall apart because it's this balloon that you're trying to massage, but there's no room to massage it. So I think you really should look at this in a little bit more detail and try to. I think that this one is starting to take on its one image, and this one here can give a lot more. I see where you can take ideas that the board members have said, maybe that area opens up and we can get more depth here, we can get an entry here, and then this starts to become, it doesn't have a porch at all, so you really have to, do some significant stuff to make this a neighborhood-friendly elevation. And I think that you have to start with looking at your program to be able to allow you to do that. But I think that this is just blowing it out way too much here to give you the kind of relief you need in the design for it to work well. Again, I don't necessarily. I think I will leave when you do the architectural work here. I think I'd see how this correlates, because I think if you have like a split here, having a different material could help those two. I agree with Gary and Keith on the garage. Let me just finish building one here. Let's see, the wing walls, second floor volume. I think I spoke about that. Roof plane. Okay, I think on to the garage here. I don't quite understand the as a garage by itself. It looks good. It's good architecture, but I don't understand the rural nature of this barn style with the rest of the buildings when you're trying already to integrate this building and these two buildings together. To take a new structure and then add another element of that is not fitting in with the others, when the ones that you have already can't really fit in well with each other. So I'm having a hard time trying to address that. But as a structure by itself, I think it's a fine element. I think that this is a small element for me. I think you have bigger issues. If those other issues are solved, I think in a good manner, and you landscape the differences between these buildings well, I can see this possibly existing without really clashing with the others. But the way the rest of the other project is going, I think you have work to do there before trying to push all the buttons on this one.
What I took from the last meeting was that the garage was acceptable, even though it was different and sort of, in a whimsical sense maybe, but a different structure and a little bit removed from the others, and it would be acceptable. I hope that's the case, because I think it,
yeah.
But
I think that can still be the case,
Okay.
but it really depends on how you address
Okay.
the new structure that you're building.
Okay.
And I think that if you stick to this program where you've all the way out, and you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I do. I understand.
Without
I appreciate the comments.
yeah. So I think that's it. Anybody would like to open with a motion? This would be continued indefinitely to the full board with the following comments. Anyone want to proffer?
I'll jump in.
Paul?
I'll need help for the comments that the other part of the board made for the garage, but I would say for building 1, study redesigning the entry to Unit 5 to have a stronger neighborhood feeling to the street. Study the rear elevation of Building 1 and perhaps eliminate the cantilever and continue the wood siding where the plaster currently is being shown. Study the size of the garage that's on the plans. The board would prefer 16 feet. The garage doors, I'm sorry, the garage doors. And then anything else? What am I missing? Study the wing walls of the garage to see if they're necessary.
And when are you studying just the entrance, or you want them to study the?
We're trying to make the minutes simple. You heard us all. We don't need to make 5 comments about this door doesn't work.
Right.
And it's a missed opportunity for that upper window.
I'll second the motion. But under discussion, I was wondering if I was the only one that felt that the architectural elements and the distances between the posts and some of the detailing on Building 1 still need refinement.
I'll pitch in, and I agree with you.
Totally agree with that.
So that would,
I mentioned
if it's
that as
okay
well.
with Paul, I'd like to add that to the motion, Kathy. Did you get it? Did you get that?
So good
And I think there's some landscape,
under discussion here.
like, I'm sorry.
Turn the fence at the
Yeah.
corner, the trash screening, the conflicting tree alignment, and the flat rock. Flat rock
Replacement with,
substitution for the driveway tree.
Kathy, substitute the flat rock with an alternative material at the hardscape, and then substitution for the tree at the driveway.
Okay, Eric, you feel you understand it? Where you
I
want you to go?
understand very well and hope I can bring back a better project.
Great.
Now, the owner would like to know that he's trying to upgrade the neighborhood with this project, and I think you probably appreciate that.
He's heading there for sure.
Yeah, it's kind of a run.
And there was no comments made about the architecture of the garage building. Is that okay?
I think I don't know.
I wasn't listening strong
Enough when you guys were doing your comments, so I can't add that on there. Sorry.
Well, we had comments to the fact that it didn't really, this is not an emotion now as yet, but that with the way the rest of the project is going, it just seems like it's a disparate element, and it's not in harmony with everything else. So I think my feeling is that if the rest of the buildings can be brought into harmony, this can stand alone. If that the two members at the end feel differently, they should voice that concern.
I feel it doesn't belong in the same compound. It's pretty foreign to the buildings.
I don't think that it means redesigning the garage structure. I think that what I'm hearing the rest of the board saying, Eric, is that it's the detailing could be toned down a little bit, and maybe instead of doing a hipped gable, just do a gable. You know what I mean? Just little details like that might. Am I wrong about things like that?
Okay.
Or we're under discussion.
We're supposed to have.
What we're under discussion on the motion.
About that issue with the compatibility of the garage.
Yeah.
And that's a majority thought.
I don't
Well,
know.
we'll find out if it gets in the minutes. Because the maker and the seconder will decide whether they'd like to put it in a motion. And if you'd like to say anything under discussion, you can, or you could either vote for it or not vote for it. That would be your options, as we all have.
I don't necessarily. Wait, Paul made the motion. So.
I'm going to be indifferent about the garage just because I think the owner wanted to have the people on there as a cutesy little statement. You know, it's going to be well detailed. I don't have a lot of strong opinion one way or the other on it, so I'm okay with it the way it's designed.
I think the applicant knows where I am. It's not enough for me to want to have to put something in writing.
Motion, but just to understand that there are some board members that are questioning the amount of detailing that's in there, and if it can be toned down a little bit, perhaps that's something. But if the owner really wants it to look that way, then that's what the owner would like.
We'll study it.
So at this point, it's not in the minutes. And anything other under discussion? Okay. All those in favor of the motion as presented, say aye. Aye. Against? Motion carries. One abstention. Clay. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
The substitution form.
Which one was
Yeah.
that?
Okay. Third item, 124 Los Aguajes Avenue. All right. Brace yourself for this one. Me too.
Eric.
Chair, the case planner is
Yes.
here to give you some background on what happened at the Planning Commission on this project.
Thanks, Amy.
I'll pass the plans up right now.
Mr. Chair, the project went
Susan.
to PC on September 3rd of this year. It did pass and get an approval for the coastal development permit, tentative subdivision map, and one modification for a front setback encroachment of the third story roof overhang that overhangs over the deck or patio on top of the second floor roof. The staircase that we had discussed at our last meeting that was an interior yard setback modification, the Planning Commission did not approve that modification. So the plans have been revised to reflect the staircase outside of the setback. If you have any other questions, I believe the resolution is being handed to the chair. There are 2 design review items on that. If you have questions, I'm here to answer them. Otherwise, I think the applicant has a short presentation. This is the one.
Okay. Thanks. Appropriate plans within development notation. Okay, just before I go into the minutes, for the benefit of the landscape architects, in the Planning Commission resolution, the 2 design elements, one of them are appropriate plants within the development limitation area. Just ask for special attention should be paid to the appropriateness of the existing and proposed plant material within the riparian setback. All existing exotic or invasive plants shall be removed and replaced with appropriate plant material within the 25-foot development limitation area. Okay? And architectural style. Prior to the issuance of demolition or building permits, the applicant shall submit final plans that show that the architecture of the new construction is compatible and harmonious with the buildings of the West Beach neighborhood in both massing and architectural style, consistent with the guidance provided by ABR. And that's what we're doing now. Okay, so if I'm correct, our last minutes are from 7/27, right?
Correct.
Continued indefinitely to Planning Commission. A majority of the board felt that the applicant has sufficiently addressed the previous concerns regarding refinement of the front elevation, the mass, bulk, and scale, the reduction of the modifications, and the refinement of the architectural style. At least one board member felt that further refinements should be made to create more pedestrian-friendly residential experience and additional refinements to the hardscape and landscape. A majority of the board felt that the requested modifications do not pose a negative aesthetic impact and do not adversely add to the proposed project's mass, bulk, and scale or neighborhood compatibility. Okay? That was... Okay, so state your name and you can tell us what the changes are and what the results of Planning Commission are and what you have done to address the last items.
Okay. Mr. Chair, I'm Pete Allen, architect for the project. With me is Mark Edwards, the property owner, and our landscape architect, David Black. When we went to Planning Commission, the Commission did not approve our pulling out the stair 2 feet that we had before. They didn't want to see that happen. But as Suzanne said, they were okay with the mod for the third floor deck area. So in response to that, we have pulled the stair back in within the setback. It's pulled this wall in a couple of feet. I still show a guest parking place here because I'm not going to give up on trying to get that to work. But by pulling this in, it gets very, very tight in our turnarounds and stuff. And I want to, right now it doesn't work, but I think if we work with these columns a little bit more, we might be able to get it to possibly work. So we're not giving up on that yet. But the Planning Commission was aware that we might not have this parking space.
Is it required?
No. It was just, well, we're trying to address some neighbors' concerns about the amount of parking on the street. So that's what we've changed in response to the Commission's direction. And I've left the garage the same size, very liberal use of the template. I think I can still get it to work. So we're going to keep staying in that direction. If things need to change here, they can in order to make this work. The other things that we've changed are in response to our last meeting, the last couple of meetings, with regards to how this front entrance works with the pedestrian aspects of it, make it more pedestrian friendly. So we've refined this, and that's why I brought these guys. These 2 sheets are a little more refined than the ones that we submitted after working on our model. So what we did, the board was concerned that the overhang was too heavy and it was imposing for people walking in the building. So we created a column line inside to add a line of support with a beam underneath it and a beam coming across. We used to have a spider leg that came out and was very light. So we've strengthened that up. And so just to give you some ideas of the model shots from the front, let's kind of focus on this area. So we did that to get more support, to make sure that this wasn't just looming out there. In addition, we added some fixed louvers in between, so that would still allow light to come through, still give our separation between the pedestrians and the cars, but really give it a little bit more substance, but still stay within the architectural style and the feeling that we're trying to create. And the reason they're oriented this way is as you're walking down the street this way, you can see through the louvers, you can see the planting, you can see the stairs. You can see how it works there, coming from that direction. Coming from this direction, you can't see it, blocks what's going on here and focuses everything on the stair. In addition, we added this low wall, this whole length, to give the column something to, stay up and be proud of the floor on. It's also nice and long and low. You can kind of see it in here as well. Again, going on with the linear forms we're trying to create here. And we extended it out, but not all the way to the street, just to kind of capture this area. And David will talk a little bit about more how that all developed. The last thing we added to really help this was an overhang. And you can see the overhang that comes around the front, comes down the side, down the side here, and covers the pedestrian walkway from here on. And then this stairs are covered by the overhang up above. So that gives a more of a comfortable entrance, helps delineate the entrance a little bit more. But what's nice about it is it brings this rhythm of lines of roof elements we have, it brings it down to this level and brings it down around. And I think really has some some strength. So that's what we've done to address the board's concerns from last time and to adjust the plan. And then real quickly, just on the elevations, so you can see how it looks in 2 dimensions. Here's the front entrance. Here's our new overhang that's wrapping around the side with the stairs in the back. Our 2 walls, which would be at different heights, but done out of the same ledger stone that we're going to do the rest of these wall masses with. You can see our little beam line here that then comes across all the way along here on the top of the louvers. There's our overhang. You can see that roof rhythm there. And then we continued that beam line along the side, on both sides actually, to kind of encompass that ceiling of the ground floor, because we're going to have to deal with pipes and other things and such, and we wanted to be able to somehow enclose a recessed area up there. You'll see on the 3D models we're studying a different screen on this side, maybe something a little bit lighter. So that is different what you're seeing in the 3D shots. Other than that, the rest of the building remains the same. We've really just worked on refining these areas here. So I'll have David show you his goodies.
So I took the liberty of basically just coloring up our landscape plan as it relates to this entry area, because I know that's this area, Chris's piece indicated, has been the point of interest. So what we're looking to do is Pete indicated, there's sort of an asymmetrical approach to the location of these little entry walls on the sidewalk. And so this one would be set back and be a different height than that. A little bit of planting in front, actually more so. This one actually should be set back about a foot, and there'll be planting in front of that. We have the same sort of cast in place concrete stepping stones with potentially Mexican River rock in between, and then we have the 6-foot fence comes all the way down to that location there. It's really important, I think, to sort of give a very strong sense of edge to this one, because it kind of gives the entry a lot more definition. 2, it creates a real separation from our our primary pedestrian access and an existing asphalt driveway, and then the adjacent apartment building. So it's really important to us to sort of really create some verticality in terms of plant material and that fencing, so that when you're coming in here, you're really directed to the entry stair there. And then same thing on here, on this side too. I mean, I sort of imagined that this planting would be about, 3 or 4 feet high. This little wall would be, 18 inches or so. And I want to sort of pull this up 3 or 4 feet, 3 feet, to kind of create separation for the pedestrian from the entry drive to the garage. And then another element that we've introduced here is a water feature, which will be sort of, as you see, a low profile. What we're anticipating is that water will be coming off this wall into it, and we've got different ideas about how we want to treat it, treat the water feature itself. Obviously, it looks like a pool, but we may do some things like, I've worked a lot lately with recycled glass along the bottom, different colors and light, and some movement coming off this little wall, that sort of thing. But again, I think it's a vast improvement over to what we had before, in just terms of standing back here and looking at this and really seeing the sense of where the entry is. And again, as we'd shown in earlier plans, I think it's important that that we get some real verticality here against that screen, and then against also the stair as it goes up. Because one thing I'm really interested in is sort of separating visually, the experience moving up the stairs from this driveway. So we anticipate that this is going to be, this could be 15, 18 feet material all along here. That's pretty much it. The rest of the plan is pretty much as we presented it before.
Okay.
That's all.
Thanks, David. Okay, bring it back. Anyone in the audience would like to comment on this proposal? Seeing no one, I'll bring it back to staff. Any letters on the public, staff?
Not for this particular hearing that I see.
Nothing from Paula?
I just wanted to clarify, the fence, you said 6 foot, how Others? On the site plan, how far is it from the front property line?
10 feet.
10 feet.
It needs to be 20 feet along a driveway.
Told you.
So
Will do.
that would be staff's comment on the fence. That wasn't clear on the site plan.
Yeah, we took a look at the code, so we'll talk to you about that.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Bring it back for questions on the board. Keith? Gary? Don?
No.
Clay? Paul?
Well, one minor comment. I like the water feature, but then there were louvers on that wall, and you said water coming off that wall.
The wall that the louvers come off of.
I mean, it's not designed yet, but just making sure we understood that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very low feature. This wall comes along here, columns up above the wall, and the water would come out of this very low wall.
A low wall?
Yeah.
Okay.
To be determined.
Carl?
TBD.
Oh, you finished? Oh, sorry. Still with Paul. Sorry.
What is this material? The blackish color.
We haven't really decided. It was going to be maybe a galvanized or some metal, something similar to what.
Would it be of that same hue, the contrast that's being shown?
Well, that's what we're studying. We're studying making that element contrast similar to how the columns might contrast. But we do see this as something that does contrast, and especially it used to come down and in, and having the contrast was I think stronger there.
Okay.
So are you planning on coming back with those
Oh yeah.
thoughts? Okay.
We need final approval.
Yeah.
Unless we get it today.
Carol? We finished with Clay. Clay gave his question. Chris?
No questions.
And I missed the last meeting before this one, but I see that the whole thing on top there is gone. Yeah, that was only one of the few things I could remember. And then, okay, so bring it back for comments. Keith?
Chair, I think the applicants responded in a positive way to the requirements of the Planning Commission and addressed our concerns with the entry. So I think it's ready for preliminary today.
Okay. Gary?
I think it's incompatible with the neighborhood. I'll stick with that.
Okay. Dawn?
No additional comments. I agree with Keith.
Okay. Paul?
My only comment is to study the material of that pop-up. That's the shower, and don't make it such a strong contrast. It looks, the jet black against the white is just a little too strong from what I can sense.
Clay?
No additional comments. I also concur with Keith.
Okay. Carol? No comments? Chris?
The only comment I have is concerning the reflecting pond. I like the inclusion of the element, but I think 2 feet wide is going to look pretty small. So if there's a way to either push that and the path over to the property line or somehow make it wider somehow. I mean, it seems very small, but that's my only comment.
Okay. My comments, I think the last time I saw this, there's quite a few elements that were sensitive. I think that this iteration is a lot better than the last one that I saw. I however, feel that I still feel that there's a level of incompatibility with the neighborhood that I haven't been able to cross that line yet. But I think the changes that you guys have made within the style that you are proposing, I think that they're quite well done. But for the location, I have little concern. So that's where I am. Okay. So motion, I'd be able to. Anybody I could? Yes, Keith.
Take a stab at it.
Yep.
This would be for preliminary approval.
Yes.
As presented with the following comments. Study the development of the water feature, and as a part of that, its width, and refine the material color palette and study the contrast of the proposed material. That's it.
Okay. Do we have a second on that motion?
Mr.
Second
Chair?
by Clay, yes.
Just a point of clarification, with this approval, you are also approving the setback waiver for the garage.
Setback waiver, that's the front of the
That is
garage.
the garage on the interior property line, so
That's these 3
it's a
feet
waiver
here.
that is approved by the ABR. So I just want to clarify that you're making that as part of the
Yes.
motion.
If I correctly remember, board, we discussed that at a previous meeting and everybody seemed to be comfortable with it, right? Okay. Yes, we are. So do we have a second on that? Clay was the second, right? Okay, under discussion, anyone? Under discussion. Okay, all those in favor of the motion as read, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? 2 opposed. Okay, thank you. Very good, and congratulations.
It's a miracle.
Oh, you got there. You're on your way. You got there. You're on your
It
way.
took 5 years.
Yeah.
You're not that in. There's a 10-day appeal period.
Shut up.
Quiet.
So with that, I'd like to conclude the ABR for September 21st. Good evening, Santa Barbara.